The journey begins quietly, like the breaking of dawn. Imagine for a moment that within you lies a hidden key, one you have carried all your life, but perhaps never truly recognized. This key is not forged of iron or brass. It is not something you could ever hold in your hand. And yet it shapes every step you take, every door you open, every experience that unfolds in your path. That key is your imagination. Most people dismiss imagination as child's play, as fantasy, as daydreams with no weight in reality. But Florence Scovel Shinn, the great metaphysical teacher of the early 20th century, whispered to us a greater truth. Your word is your wand. And behind every word is an image, a mental picture, a vision. The images you carry are not idle, they are decrees. They are the blueprint of your destiny. Pause for a moment. Look back upon your life. How many times have you rehearsed a scene in your mind, anticipating rejection, fearing failure, expecting disappointment? And how many times did reality bend itself to that picture as though obediently playing out the script you had already written? It is not because life is cruel or fate is unfair. It is because imagination is law. It does not argue. It does not weigh right against wrong, joy against sorrow. Like a faithful architect, it simply takes the blueprint you provide and gives it form. Consider the architect drawing lines upon a blank page. The lines are not yet walls. The windows do not yet open to sky. But within the quiet design, the future of a house already lives. So it is with your mind. The images you sketch in silence in private, unseen by others, are already forming the walls and doors of your tomorrow. And yet here is the tender mercy and the solemn responsibility. Most people do not know they are drawing at all. They believe their fears are harmless, their worries are private, their inner rehearsals invisible. But the universe has no such distinction. The universe only hears the decree. Let me ask you, when you imagine tomorrow, what picture do you see? Do you feel the weight of dread? Another bill unpaid? Another conversation gone wrong? Another disappointment at the door? Or do you lift your inner eyes to see peace, supply, and triumph? Which script are you rehearsing? Let us tell the story of two neighbors, ordinary women living on the same quiet street. The first lies awake at night, turning over the what-ifs. What if I lose my job? What if the car breaks down? What if no one is there to help me? Her heart pounds to the rhythm of fear. In her mind, she already lives the loss. She already drives the broken car. She already sits alone. She is rehearsing disaster, and her body, her spirit, her very cells believe her. The second neighbor also faces challenges. She is not exempt from the winds of life. But as she lays her head upon the pillow, she whispers to herself, "What if tomorrow brings unexpected help? What if I find joy where I least expect it? What if life surprises me with abundance?" Her mind paints pictures of open doors, kind faces, gentle provision. She rehearses peace, she rehearses triumph, and the cells of her body, her spirit, her very breath align themselves with that picture. Both are using imagination. One as an architect of ruin, the other as an architect of hope. Which neighbor do you most resemble? Florence taught us that imagination is never idle. Every word is a brushstroke. Every thought is a seed. The question is not if you are imagining, but what you are imagining. So let us awaken. Let us no longer wander as sleepwalkers through the corridors of our minds. For the power you have been given is not fantasy, but law. And this law is creative, obedient, impartial. It will give form to the pictures you hold, whether they be of sorrow or of joy. Friend, you are the architect of your destiny. You are holding the pencil. Even now, in this moment, you are designing walls of confinement or gateways of liberation. Which will you choose? Take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you wish. See before you a blank canvas, unmarked, untouched. Upon it, you may draw anything. Shall it be a scene of loss, or shall it be a garden of plenty? Your hand, your vision, your decree. This is the awakening to see imagination not as idle fantasy, but as divine blueprint, and to recognize that every picture drawn within is a prophecy spoken without. And so I leave you with this gentle reminder. Your word is your wand. Your imagination is the wand's flame. Guard it, honor it, and above all, use it to create the life you were born to live. Before we move into Florence's vision itself, I invite you to pause and reflect. What pictures have you been carrying? Which blueprint have you been silently building? And if you find yourself longing to continue this journey, to nurture your imagination into the powerful ally it was always meant to be, I welcome you to subscribe to stay updated with new relaxing videos and support this channel so we can continue creating peaceful content to help you rest and recharge. For this is not the end, but only the threshold. The door is opening, and behind it, a new world of possibility is waiting for you. Let us now turn our gaze to the woman whose voice still echoes through time, a voice as clear and steady as a bell in the morning air. Florence Scovel Shinn, artist, metaphysical teacher, and pioneer of spiritual law, was not born into an age that easily welcomed her message. She lived in an era when women were expected to remain silent in the public square, when their place was defined not by their vision, but by the walls of convention. And yet Florence rose calm and unwavering to declare truths that many dared not whisper. She taught that imagination is not idle, nor frivolous, nor fleeting. She declared that every thought image plants a seed, every word calls forth form. She painted life as a great stage where you, the soul, are both actor and playwright, both speaker and director. And she said, "The invisible forces are ever working for man, who is always pulling the strings himself, though he does not know it." Picture her in the early 1900s, standing before a small gathering of women, widows, mothers, young seekers, all drawn by curiosity, all weary from struggle. Their faces are etched with questions. Can life truly change? Is there a law higher than chance? Could it be that the dreams within my heart are more than idle longing? Florence begins gently, with the patience of one who knows the soil must first be softened before the seed can take root. She tells them the imagination is the workshop of the infinite. It is the womb of creation. That which you see within you shall see without. That which you decree in thought shall appear in form. The women listen. Some frown, for they have been told all their lives that fate is fixed, that suffering is noble, that to dream is dangerous. But others lean forward, a light kindling in their eyes, for within them stirs a recognition, a memory, as though Florence's words are not new, but a truth long buried, finally uncovered. She shares her metaphor of the gardener. Imagine, she says, that the soil of the earth knows no difference between the seeds of roses and the seeds of weeds. The soil does not argue, does not resist, does not ask. Are you sure you want to plant this? It simply nurtures what is given, multiplying it, pushing it upward into life. So it is with your imagination. The soil of the universe accepts every seed. Plant fear, and fear shall blossom. Plant faith, and faith shall bear fruit. And here lies the gentle yet piercing truth. We are each gardeners of our destiny. Every thought is a seed. Every word is a planting. Every mental picture is a decree whispered into the waiting earth. Florence herself knew hardship. She was not speaking from ivory towers nor spinning theories in a vacuum. She endured divorce at a time when society branded such women with scorn. She faced rejection, scarcity, uncertainty. And yet she stood unshaken, holding fast to the law she had discovered. Change your thoughts, and you change your world. In one of her classes, a woman once confessed her constant fear of poverty. She imagined bills piling high, her home stripped bare, her cupboards empty. Florence smiled gently and said, "You are faithfully watering the weeds. Why not instead plant roses?" She urged the woman to replace every image of lack with the vision of abundance. Picture the cupboard full, the purse overflowing, the table spread with good things. Speak it, see it, feel it. For what you imagine faithfully must take form. Weeks later, the woman returned radiant, her countenance transformed. Opportunities had opened, unexpected money had arrived. Kindness had met her at every turn. It is as if she said, "Life has been waiting for me to choose." Florence replied, "Life always waits at the door of your imagination. It knocks, but you must open." Now pause and reflect. What seeds have you been planting? Do you rehearse images of sickness, lack, rejection, or do you cultivate visions of health, supply, and joy? The soil of spirit does not choose for you. It only multiplies what you decree. Florence's vision was radical in its simplicity. Life is not happening to you. Life is responding to you. The stage play does not come pre-written. You are writing it even now. Each scene is shaped by the pictures you hold, the words you speak, the expectations you dare to carry. She often said, "Your word is your wand." Imagine that wand now in your hand. What spell have you been casting? A spell of fear or a spell of faith? A spell of lack or a spell of supply? Do not fear the wand. Simply learn to wield it with love, with discipline, with reverence. Let us return to the image of the stage. You step upon it daily, whether you realize it or not. The curtain rises each morning. The audience, life itself, waits. You may stand trembling, unprepared, mumbling lines of worry and dread. Or you may step forth boldly, script in hand, declaring words of triumph, faith, and abundance. The stage will echo back whatever you decree. The choice is yours. Florence's students often marveled that when they changed their inner pictures, outer circumstances seemed to rearrange themselves almost magically. But she reminded them it was not magic, it was law. Just as the sun must rise, just as the tide must turn, so must imagination bear fruit in the outer world. And so, as you listen now, allow her vision to pierce through the fog of doubt. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are not a prisoner of fate. You are a gardener, a playwright, a creator. Your imagination is not idle. It is the womb of your destiny. Lift your inner eyes. Plant roses, not weeds. Write scenes of triumph, not tragedy. Speak words of supply, not lack. For the law will answer as surely as the earth answers the seed. Let Florence's vision settle into your heart. She was not speaking to an age long past. She is speaking to you now, here in this moment. Her words are timeless because truth is timeless. And so, I ask you again, what seeds will you plant? What stage will you write? What decree will you speak? For the universe waits not to argue, but to create, and your imagination is the brush in its hand. Florence Scovel Shinn, with her gentle clarity, taught one principle that strikes like a bell across the ages. The imagination cannot remain empty. It must always be filled. And if it is filled with fear, the only way to dislodge fear is to substitute it with faith. The law of substitution is not struggle, not willpower, not the tense effort of not thinking a thing. It is simple, natural replacement. For you cannot banish a shadow by fighting it, you banish it by lighting a lamp. How many times have you tried to silence worry only to find it louder than before? How many times have you told yourself, I must not be afraid, only to feel fear coil tighter within you? This is because the mind abhors a vacuum. When one picture is erased, another must take its place. If you attempt to remove fear without replacing it, fear will return like weeds upon untended soil. Florence offered a gentler path, replace the image. Substitute. Turn your inner gaze from disaster to deliverance, from worry to peace, from lack to supply. You cannot stare at both the dark and the light at once. Choose the light and the dark dissolves. Let us illustrate this with a parable. Imagine a man standing at a great radio, its dials worn with use. For months, he has tuned the knob to static hissing, grating, endless noise. He complains of the noise. He despises it. He covers his ears. And yet every morning his hand reaches for the same dial, turning it to the same frequency. The static roars again. One day, Florence appears in his dream and says, "Why not tune higher?" He hesitates, for he does not believe other stations exist, but at her urging, he turns the knob. Slowly, the static fades. A melody arises, soft at first, then rich and full. He is astonished. He realizes the music was always there waiting. The air was never empty, only his choice of dial determined what he heard. So it is with imagination. If you are tuned to fear, you will hear fear's voice. But the moment you substitute faith, the moment you choose peace, the static gives way to symphony. One of Florence's students once confessed that she could not stop imagining disaster whenever her husband traveled. She saw accidents, she saw loss, she saw widowhood. Her body grew sick with dread each time he left the house. Florence said to her, "Why water the seeds of sorrow? Each time the fear picture rises, substitute it with a picture of his safe return, of your joy together, of God's hand guiding his path. Practice this substitution faithfully, and fear will fade." At first, the woman struggled, for fear images seemed stronger. But she persisted. Each time the shadow rose, she lit a lamp of peace. She imagined her husband stepping through the door with a smile. She rehearsed gratitude instead of grief. In time, her fears lost their power. Her home was filled not with dread, but with joy, and her body grew strong again. The law was fulfilled. Fear dissolved not by force, but by substitution. Now pause and look within. What station have you been tuned to? When your mind drifts, does it find static images of failure, loneliness, or lack? Or does it rest in melody visions of supply, companionship, and triumph? You may not silence the static by hating it, but you can substitute the station. Let us practice together. Imagine you are facing financial worry. Your first impulse is to picture the empty purse, the unpaid bill, the creditor's call. Stop. Substitution begins. See instead the purse overflowing, the table spread with plenty, the bill stamped, paid in full. Feel the relief, the gratitude, as though it were already so. The law of substitution demands that the new image takes root, crowding out the old. Or perhaps you fear illness. The picture rises of weakness, of decline, of endless nights of pain. Stop. Substitution begins. See the body radiant with health, each cell singing in harmony, the breath deep and easy, the step light and free. Do not battle the fear image, simply place the faith image in its stead. Florence knew that worry is imagination misused. It is rehearsing what you do not wish to live. And the cure is not suppression but transformation. For imagination is always creating, always painting, always writing. The question is, which picture will you let it draw? The world around us may shout fear. Newspapers may print disaster. Voices may tell us all is lost. But within you lies the power to substitute. You need not drink from every cup placed before you. You may choose the water of peace instead of the poison of worry. And here is the beauty: with practice, substitution becomes habit. At first, you must remind yourself. At first, you must turn the dial with conscious effort. But in time, your hand knows the way. In time, your mind naturally rests upon faith images as the bird rests upon its nest. Fear may knock, but it finds no dwelling place. So, dear soul, I invite you now to awaken to this gentle law. When fear rises, do not fight it. Simply substitute. When worry shouts, answer not with struggle, but with vision. Plant roses where weeds once grew. Tune to symphony where static once roared. For imagination is not to be emptied, it is to be filled. And when filled with faith, it becomes the lamp that banishes every shadow. Stories are the living proof of law in action. They are the bridges that carry wisdom from the abstract into the tangible, from the lofty into the everyday. Florence Scovel Shinn filled her teachings with such stories, not to entertain, but to demonstrate, so that no one could say, "This law is too mysterious, too far from me." She showed that the law of imagination works as faithfully for the seamstress as for the queen, for the struggling student, as for the wealthy merchant. Let us enter into these stories together, walking as if beside our students, feeling their fears, their doubts, their transformations. For within each story lies a mirror. You may find your own reflection, your own hidden rehearsals, your own unspoken decrees. There was once a woman, refined in manners, but restless in spirit, who came to Florence trembling with fear of financial ruin. Her eyes were shadowed, her hands never still. She confessed that each night she rehearsed her downfall, bills piling higher. Her home seized her dignity, stripped away. Florence listened patiently, then asked, "My dear, why are you rehearsing the play you do not wish to act? The stage of life will present the script you write. Why not imagine abundance instead of ruin?" The woman wept. "But I cannot. The images rise without my will. I see the cupboard empty, the purse bare." Florence took her hand and said firmly, "Then let us plant new images. Each night before you sleep, picture your cupboard full, your purse heavy with gold, your table spread with food. Repeat to yourself, 'God is my supply. My purse is always full.' Substitute these visions until they grow stronger than your fear." At first, the woman faltered. Her fear images seemed monstrous, her faith images faint. But she persisted, as a gardener persists in watering tender shoots, though weeds tower above them. Day by day, the new images took root. Within months, unexpected opportunities appeared. A forgotten debt was repaid. A friend offered her work that fit her skill. Her home, once at the brink of foreclosure, was secured. She returned to Florence, radiant, marveling, "It is as if life has changed its mind about me." Florence smiled gently. "Life did not change its mind, you changed yours." Another story tells of a young man desperate for success as an actor. He came to Florence burdened with rejection, carrying within him the echo of countless slammed doors. Each time he auditioned, he imagined failure before he even spoke his first line. His imagination had rehearsed his downfall so often that his body obeyed. His voice trembled, his confidence dissolved, his performance faltered. Florence said to him, "You are playing two roles, one upon the stage of your mind and one upon the stage of the theater. But the first role dictates the second. Until you see yourself triumphant within, you cannot be triumphant without." She instructed him to imagine before sleep and upon waking the sound of applause, to picture himself bowing his heart, steady his voice, clear the audience rising in ovation. "Feel it, live it inwardly, and life will answer," she told him. The young man obeyed. At first, it felt foolish applauding an empty room. But as he persisted, something shifted. His shoulders straightened, his eyes brightened, his voice rang with new strength. When the next audition came, he walked in not as a beggar seeking approval, but as a king rehearsing his rightful role. He performed with confidence, with joy, with certainty. The director, astonished, offered him the part. Months later, he wrote to Florence, "Your words were true. I lived the triumph within, and the world could not help but mirror it back." There was also a woman who longed for love. She was weary of loneliness, her heart aching from years of waiting. Yet every time she thought of love, she rehearsed rejection. She imagined men turning away, imagined herself overlooked, unworthy, invisible. Florence said to her, "My dear, you are rehearsing the very play you do not wish to act. Stop imagining rejection. Imagine instead the joy of companionship, the tenderness of love, the beauty of union." She taught her to affirm divine love, "Now draws to me the man who is mine by right. I see us walking together in peace. I feel his hand in mine. I know our hearts are one." The woman obeyed. Each day she substituted the picture of loneliness with the picture of companionship. She rehearsed joy instead of sorrow, fulfillment instead of lack. Within months, she met a man whose soul resonated with hers. They married, and her life blossomed with the very love she had rehearsed within. She later told Florence, "I realized I had been pushing love away with my imagination of rejection. The moment I pictured union, love found me." One more story of a merchant weighed down with failing business. His shop, once thriving, stood nearly empty. He spent his days rehearsing images of bankruptcy, seeing his doors shuttered, his reputation ruined. Florence counseled him, "You are rehearsing death for your business. Stop rehearsing ruin and begin rehearsing prosperity. Picture your shop filled with customers, your shelves cleared by eager hands, your register ringing with sales. Declare, 'I am divinely prospered in all my affairs.'" At first, the merchant resisted, "But I must be realistic. My shop is empty." Florence replied, "What you call realistic is only the echo of your inner pictures. Change the picture, and reality will follow." The merchant, desperate, obeyed. Each morning he stood before his shop and imagined crowds at the door. Each evening he pictured his shelves, replenished his accounts in surplus. Slowly, life answered. A favorable review appeared in a newspaper. New customers came, old customers returned. Within a year, his business flourished beyond expectation. He marveled, "I never knew that my imagination was the silent partner in my business. I had been rehearsing failure all along." And so, dear friend, do you see, imagination is not idle. It is rehearsal, blueprint, decree. Each of these souls, woman, student, lover, merchant, was writing a play with their inner pictures. At first, the play was tragedy, but with Florence's guidance, they chose another script, and life faithful to law brought the script into form. Now let us turn the mirror toward you. What story are you rehearsing? Do you imagine loss and then call it realism? Do you picture rejection and then call it truth? Or do you dare to rehearse triumph, to picture abundance, to imagine joy? For life is impartial. It does not question your script. It only plays it. The curtain will rise tomorrow, and your lines will be spoken. Which lines will they be? Pause here. Feel the weight of choice. This is not burden, but liberation. You are not helpless, not subject to fate. You are author, director, actor. You hold the script. And with every image, every decree, you are writing tomorrow's scene. So let these stories be your reminder. Imagination works. It does not delay. It does not falter. It does not argue. It simply creates faithfully, as surely as seed brings forth after its kind. And as you step forward, may you choose as Florence's students chose to rehearse joy instead of sorrow, prosperity instead of ruin, love instead of loneliness, triumph instead of defeat. For what you rehearse within must take form without. This is law. This is truth. This is the gift. There is a moment after the joy of discovery when a sobering truth must also be embraced. For with every gift comes responsibility and imagination. Florence Scovel Shinn taught is not only a blessing, but a sacred duty. Many people imagine carelessly. They allow their minds to wander unchecked, rehearsing fear, dwelling on injury, repeating scenes of lack. They do not realize that their inner pictures are seeds planted into the fertile soil of spirit. And then when the harvest comes, when weeds of sorrow rise in their lives, they cry out, "Why me?" Florence answered, "Because the harvest is faithful. Because you planted without thought. Because imagination obeys without question. Let us take the image of fire. In the hearth tended with care, fire warms the home, cooks the meal, lights the night. But left unattended, fire devours the walls, consumes the roof, destroys the dwelling. Is the fire evil? No, it is only obedient. So too is imagination. It is power, sacred and neutral. In wise hands, it builds. In careless hands, it burns. She often told her students, imagination is not play, it is prophecy. The pictures you carry are announcements of things to come. Guard them as you would guard your treasures, for they are treasures in seed form. Consider the story of a man who nursed a grudge. Each night, he rehearsed conversations of anger, reliving insults, picturing revenge. He thought these pictures harmless, confined to the privacy of his mind. But soon, his health faltered. His business soured, his friendships strained. He had rehearsed discord so faithfully that discord appeared in every corner of his life. Florence warned him, "You are misusing imagination. You are painting with poison. Stop rehearsing revenge and begin rehearsing peace. Substitute every image of anger with one of forgiveness. For only then can your life be healed." The man struggled, for bitterness clung tightly. But as he practiced substitution, as he rehearsed reconciliation instead of quarrel, harmony slowly returned. His body grew stronger, his affairs prospered, his friendships renewed. He learned that imagination carries consequence, whether wielded in anger or in love. Now let us pause and turn inward. How have you been using imagination? Do you indulge in scenes of fear, thinking them private? Do you nurse resentments, rehearse failures, replay losses? These are not idle, they are blueprints, and the house you dwell in tomorrow will be built upon them. But here is the mercy: at any moment you may choose differently. You may step from careless dreaming to conscious creating. You may take imagination into your hands as a sacred trust. You may say, "I guard my inner images with love." I plant only seeds of faith, joy, and abundance. Florence's voice rings across the years. The man who guards his imagination guards his destiny. The man who misuses imagination calls forth his own sorrow. She did not speak this to frighten, but to awaken. For responsibility is not a burden, it is power. Think of the farmer. Would he scatter seeds of weeds into his field and then despair at harvest? No, he chooses carefully. He plants wheat, corn, roses. He knows the soil is faithful, that it will yield what is given. He guards his seed bag, for he knows each seed is destiny in embryo. So must you guard imagination. So must you choose. Florence once told the parable of a woman who, though longing for peace, constantly rehearsed pictures of conflict. She feared quarrels with her neighbors, arguments with her children, discord with her husband. Her imagination was filled with strife, and strife obediently arose. When she sought Florence's counsel, she was told, "You are rehearsing battles. Why not rehearse harmony? Why not picture laughter in your home, smiles at your table, goodwill with your neighbors? Rehearse peace, and peace shall come." The woman obeyed, though at first it felt strange. Slowly, as her inner pictures changed, her outer life followed. Quarrels faded. Friendships blossomed. Her home grew light with laughter. She realized that imagination had been her silent master all along. Responsibility means awakening to this truth: you are never not creating. Every idle picture, every casual word, every mental rehearsal is a brushstroke upon the canvas of your life. You cannot set aside the brush. You can only choose how to paint. And so, dear soul, let your imagination become your altar. Let it be consecrated to visions of good, of beauty, of love. Do not toss careless seeds upon its soil. Do not light fires of anger and leave them untended. Hold your imagination as a sacred flame, warming, guiding, creating. Florence's caution is not sternness, but compassion. She knew the heartache of those who unknowingly rehearsed disaster. She longed for her students to awaken, to rise, to wield imagination as the holy gift it is. And so I say to you, pause now. Place your hand upon your heart. Speak within, I accept imagination as a sacred responsibility. I guard my inner images with love. I choose visions of joy, abundance, peace. For this is the turning point. No longer a passive daydreamer drifting upon the winds of fear. No longer a careless gardener scattering weeds. No longer a blind architect sketching ruin upon the page. You are awake. You are responsible. You are creator. And in this awakening lies your freedom. For when you guard imagination with love, it becomes the channel through which spirit flows freely, shaping your life into harmony, beauty, and abundance. This is the law. This is the gift. This is the responsibility. So, dear friend, if your heart accepts this truth, let your soul declare it now. I guard my inner images with love. Let this be your vow, your shield, your wand. And as you carry it forward, know that Florence walks beside you, still whispering, your word is your wand. Your imagination is divine decree. Guard it, and it shall guard you. My friend, today, we step into a sacred truth. Your subconscious mind is your faithful servant. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the subconscious does not argue. It does not question. It does not debate with you. It accepts silently, obediently, every image, every word, every feeling you send to it. Think of the subconscious like a butler standing quietly at the door of your life. He is dressed in impeccable attire, gloves on, standing still, waiting for your command. He does not ask, "Are you sure, madam?" or "Do you really want that, sir?" No, He bows and fulfills the order exactly as you gave it. And here is where most people stumble. They give their butler sloppy instructions. They say, "Money never stays with me. I always lose it." And so the butler goes into the storehouse of the infinite and brings more loss, more lack, more fleeting money. They say, "I always fail at love." And so the faithful servant of the subconscious delivers another failed relationship. Florence would remind us the subconscious accepts all mental images without judgment. Let's take a simple example. Imagine a man who lost his business 5 years ago. Every night before bed, instead of blessing his tomorrow, he replays the day of his downfall. He sees the moment the bank called in his loan. He feels the shame of telling his employees. He rehearses the collapse over and over, as though watching the same painful play on a stage. What does his subconscious hear? It hears, "Failure is my chosen scene." And so, the butler sets the stage again and again, bringing opportunities to fail conversations that end in collapse ideas that dry up before they bear fruit. The past is over, but in imagination, he keeps it alive. And the subconscious faithful servant that it is obeys. But here is the radiant truth: the subconscious can be reprogrammed. And the master key to that reprogramming is imagination. Florence taught that every time you hold an image steadily in mind, not fleeting, not half-hearted, but steady radiant and clothed in feeling, the subconscious accepts it as real. It begins to reorganize circumstances, nudge people, open doors, and guide events until that picture is made flesh. You may say, "But I only imagined it." Yes, beloved, but imagination is not fantasy. Imagination is creation. Every invention, every fortune, every love story began as a picture in someone's inner theater. The subconscious is the stage crew. You are the playwright. Whatever play you write with your thoughts and feelings, the crew will build, paint, and produce for you. Let me tell you a story in metaphor. A wealthy household once had a butler named James. Every morning, James stood ready, silver tray in hand, waiting for instruction. But the master of the house rarely gave clear orders. One day, he said, "Bring me something nice." James, confused, brought toast, but the master frowned, wanting fruit. Another day, the master muttered, "I don't want the usual." James brought eggs, but again the master groaned. And finally the master shouted, "Why don't you ever get it right?" James sighed. "Sir, I am your servant. I only bring what you order. If you say, 'I want fresh orange juice with 2 slices of toast by the window at 8 a.m., it shall be there without fail. But if you are vague, I can only guess." So it is with your subconscious. Vague orders, "I want more money someday," bring vague results. Precise orders, "I call $10,000 to arrive before September 30th, are fulfilled with startling accuracy. Right now, let us pause. Take a breath. Close your eyes if you can. And in your mind, see that butler dignified standing quietly before you. He is attentive. He is listening. Now give him a command, clear, direct, powerful. Say silently or aloud, "I command $10,000 to arrive before September 30th. Thank you, it is done." See him bow and walk off to fulfill it. Feel the certainty that the order is placed just as surely as if you had ordered a package online. You do not worry whether the package is coming. You know, it is on its way. So it is with the subconscious. Florence also gave another image. The subconscious is like fertile soil. Whatever seed is planted will grow. The soil does not judge between roses and weeds. If you plant weeds of fear, doubt, and worry, they sprout just as quickly as roses of abundance, joy, and health. A gardener who complains about weeds but keeps planting them will forever be disappointed. But the gardener who carefully selects seeds, who plants only what he desires, will see a garden of delight. Your imagination is the hand that plants the seed. Your words water it, and your faith gives it sunlight. Florence once told of a woman who constantly said, "I always miss the train. I'm always late." And indeed, she was forever arriving at the station just as the train pulled out. The subconscious heard her decree and obeyed. But when she was taught to change her words to affirm, "I never miss my train. Divine timing is mine," her experience shifted. The subconscious accepted the new picture, and the trains began to wait, or she arrived just in time. Small, yes, but proof that the servant is listening. So how do we rewrite the subconscious? 3 steps awareness. Notice what pictures and words you're sending. Ask yourself, what am I rehearsing inwardly? What am I commanding? Substitution. If you catch yourself replaying fear, pause and replace it with the opposite. If you imagine illness, replace with health. If you imagine loss, replace with gain. Repetition with feeling. Impress the subconscious not with empty words, but with felt pictures. When you say, "I am wealthy," feel the weight of coins in your hand, the smell of new bills, the joy of giving generously. The subconscious is moved by emotionally charged images. Let us practice together now. Speak these words with me, not as theory, but as command. My subconscious is my faithful servant. It accepts only the images of wealth, health, and joy. Every word I speak is a seed. I choose words of abundance, love, and success. I plant roses, not weeds. I command prosperity, and prosperity obeys. Pause. Feel the resonance of those words. They are not empty, they are laws. Remember this, your subconscious is always listening. Idle words are never truly idle. Idle fears are never truly harmless. When you say, "This will probably fail," the butler writes it down. When you daydream of arguments, the butler takes notes. When you imagine losing the soil, receives that seed. But the reverse is gloriously true. When you affirm success, the servant runs to fulfill it. When you imagine harmony, the soil births it. When you decree wealth, the treasure chest opens. So today, let us leave with this vision. Your subconscious is not your enemy. It is not a wild beast. It is your servant, loyal, tireless, precise. And your imagination is the master's voice that gives the command. Say with me once more, my subconscious is my faithful servant. I command it with clarity, and it obeys with accuracy. From this day forward, I plant only the seeds of abundance, love, and joy. Pause, smile. It is already done. We have learned that the subconscious is our servant, obedient, precise, always listening. But what gives the subconscious its marching orders? Words and imagination. Florence Scovel Shinn declared, "Your word is your wand. The words you speak create your reality." Pause and reflect. Every sentence you speak is not just noise in the air. It is a decree sent into the invisible. It is law. And when joined with imagination, it becomes irresistible. A thought is a seed. But when you give it voice, when you wrap it in breath and sound, you launch it into form. Think of a decree as striking a gong. Silent imagination vibrates within you, but the spoken word sends the vibration outward, echoing into the universe. And the universe, like a great orchestra, begins to tune itself to that sound. The subconscious hears it. The infinite hears it. Even your body hears it, for your cells respond to your declarations. This is why careless words are dangerous. A single "I can't" spoken with feeling is a decree. A single "I always fail" is a law you write against yourself. But equally, one "I succeed" spoken in faith cancels out years of defeat. Florence taught that affirmations are not just words. They are words that paint pictures. When you affirm "I live in wealth," you are not reciting a chant. You are sketching an image in your subconscious. The servant sees the picture and sets to work building it. If you affirm "I walk in health" and imagine yourself vibrant, strong, radiant, you are handing the butler a blueprint. He obeys. So the decree is not mere sound. It is sound plus image, word plus vision, law plus imagination. Florence told of a woman in great financial distress. She was about to lose her home. Despair pressed her. But instead of repeating the fear, she began to decree aloud, "Every morning, I banish debt. I call forth abundance. Unexpected income is mine now." At first, nothing seemed to change, but she persisted. She spoke it as law, not wish. She pictured checks arriving, doors opening, money flowing. Within weeks, a forgotten inheritance came to light, covering her debts and more. Her words were her wand. Her decree reshaped her world. In ancient kingdoms, the decree of a king was law. Once spoken, it could not be revoked. The scribes recorded it. The messengers ran with it. The people obeyed it. So it is with you. Your word is royal. You are the king or queen of your subconscious kingdom. When you decree, your servant takes note. The invisible scribes record it. The messengers of circumstance begin to run. This is why Florence said, "Do not say anything you do not want to see manifest." Because the decree once spoken goes into motion. Let us practice now. Take a breath. Lift your head. Imagine you're standing in your royal court and your words are law. Say aloud with me slowly, clearly, "I decree abundance now. I decree health now. I decree harmony now." Pause. Feel the authority in those words. You are not begging. You are not hoping. You are declaring law. This is the difference between wishing and decreeing. Wishing says, "I hope it comes." Decreeing says it is established. Florence emphasized repetition. Why? Because repetition engraves. Think of a sculptor with a hammer and chisel. One strike does not carve the stone, but repeated strikes steady and rhythmic form the shape. So it is with affirmations. Each repetition of your decree carves it deeper into the subconscious. And here is the beauty: once the subconscious is carved, it holds the form. It begins to reproduce it automatically without your conscious effort. A young man once came to Florence paralyzed by fear of failure. Every job interview ended in collapse because he told himself and others, "I never get hired." Florence gave him a decree: "I am divinely irresistible to my perfect work." She told him to speak it aloud every morning and every night until it sang in his heart. He obeyed. At first the words felt false, but repetition carved the stone. Within a month, he was offered a position better than he had dared to imagine. The decree had created a picture of confidence, and his subconscious delivered. Here is a rhythm you can adopt morning. Speak your decree first thing. This is the fresh soil of your subconscious. Midday, speak it once again, especially if fear arises. Evening, speak it before sleep so the subconscious carries it into the night. Florence called the night the workshop of the subconscious. What you decree before bed becomes the pattern it weaves while you sleep. Right now, I invite you to speak your decree of abundance. Place your hand on your heart. Breathe deeply and say aloud, "I decree abundance now. Money flows to me in expected and unexpected ways." I am supplied before I need and always in perfect timing. Say it 3 times with authority, not as a plea, but as law. Before we move forward, I want you to make a public stand. If you are ready to speak your decree of abundance, type in the comments, I decree abundance now. Declare it in writing. Put your words into the visible world. This is your signature on the decree. The power of decree is no small thing. It is the meeting of word and image, voice and vision, faith and imagination. Florence said man's word is his wand filled with magic and power. Your wand is in your hand. Use it with precision. Use it with faith. Use it with joy. Say it once more. With me, I decree abundance now. It is done. The law is set, and your servant, the subconscious, is already carrying it out. Florence Scovel Shinn said, imagination is the scissors of the mind, ever cutting your environment. In other words, your imagination shapes the play you live out. Let us see imagination not as fantasy, but as inner theater. Your mind is the stage. Your thoughts are the script. Your feelings are the lighting. And your subconscious is the stage crew ready to build the set exactly as you have rehearsed it. Every day, whether you know it or not, you are rehearsing for tomorrow. The question is, what play are you rehearsing? Picture this. You walk into a grand theater. The curtains are drawn, the seats empty. But behind the curtain, rehearsal is happening. Actors move about, sets are being painted, costumes fitted. Now imagine this theater is your subconscious. The rehearsals you run in your imagination are the plays that will eventually take the stage of your outer life. If you rehearse scenes of failure, fear, and loss, that is the play the crew will produce. If you rehearse scenes of wealth, health, and joy, that is the play the crew will bring to life. You are not a mere spectator. You are the playwright, the director, the visionary. Florence called imagination the dress rehearsal of miracles. Think of any great actor. Before the performance, they rehearse the lines, embody the role, feel the emotion, live the part. By the time the curtain rises, it is second nature. So it is with you. When you rehearse wealth in imagination, you feel its texture, its joy, its freedom. You walk with the confidence of prosperity before the outer check has even arrived. And because the subconscious does not know the difference between rehearsal and performance, it accepts the rehearsal as real and arranges your life to match. A young artist once came to Florence desperate for recognition. She had talent, but no clients, no gallery, no patrons. Florence told her rehearsed success, imagine yourself already celebrated. The artist obeyed. Each morning, she closed her eyes and pictured her paintings on display. She felt the pride of buyers admiring her work. She heard the sound of applause at her exhibition. Within months, a gallery owner discovered her, and the very scenes she had rehearsed unfolded in reality. The subconscious had accepted the rehearsal as truth, and the stage crew brought it to pass. Let us try it now. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a slow breath. See yourself stepping into a grand theater, your inner theater. The seats are empty. The stage is ready. The lights rise. Now imagine your play of abundance. See yourself signing a check with joy. Hear the sound of money being deposited. Feel the weight of crisp bills in your hand. Smell the leather of a new wallet filled with notes. Taste the celebration dinner after receiving unexpected income. Hold the scene as though it is happening now. Don't watch from afar, step into the role. Be the actor on stage. Live it. Pause here. Breathe into it. This is your dress rehearsal. Remember, every image you hold is rehearsal. If you spend the day imagining quarrels, you are rehearsing arguments. If you dwell on sickness, you are rehearsing illness. If you rehearse lack, the stage crew sets up scarcity. But if you rehearse joy, the crew sets up harmony. If you rehearse love, the crew sets up union. If you rehearse wealth, the crew sets up supply. The subconscious cannot resist a clear, repeated rehearsal. Florence wrote, "A man can only attract what he imagines." This is destiny, not as fate, but as rehearsal. Your destiny is not written by stars, but by the stage play you run in imagination. Do not underestimate the power of 5 minutes of vivid rehearsal. 5 minutes of embodied vision can outweigh years of idle worry. For the subconscious responds not to time, but to intensity and repetition. A woman bedridden with illness once approached Florence. Doctors had given little hope, yet Florence instructed her, "See yourself strong. Imagine walking freely. Picture yourself climbing stairs with ease." The woman began to rehearse daily. At first, her body resisted. Yet, in imagination, she saw herself rise, walk, laugh. She rehearsed it so vividly that she began to feel flashes of energy. Slowly, her body obeyed the subconscious image. Within months, she regained strength and walked again. Her outer play matched her inner rehearsal. Here is a practice you can adopt morning. Before the world intrudes, close your eyes and run a 3-minute scene of your desired outcome. Not a vague hope, but a living play. Midday. If fear arises, pause for 60 seconds. Replace it with a quick rehearsal of success. Evening. Before bed, run the same scene once more. Send it into the subconscious workshop of the night. This is not daydreaming. This is conscious, deliberate rehearsal. Speak these with me. My imagination is the stage of my destiny. Every scene I rehearse inwardly appears outwardly. I rehearse miracles daily, and miracles appear on cue. Pause. Feel those words etch themselves into your being. In your inner theater, you also choose your cast. Who plays a role in your play? If you cast people as betrayers, they will fulfill the part. If you cast them as allies, they may rise to the role. Florence warned against rehearsing quarrels. She said to picture others in their highest light, to see them fulfilling their divine role. This, too, is rehearsal not only for your life, but for theirs. Beloved, you are the playwright. Life is your stage. Imagination is your rehearsal. The subconscious is your stage crew, and destiny is the play you set in motion. Let us close with one more declaration. I rehearse abundance, health, and joy. My inner play becomes my outer life. I am the playwright of my destiny. The curtain has not yet risen on tomorrow, but the rehearsal is happening now. Choose your script, direct your play, for the show must go on. Florence Scovel Shinn often warned whatever man voices he calls into being. But she also gave us a merciful law, the law of substitution. This law is simple but powerful. You can replace any negative thought or image the moment you catch it. Fear arises, you substitute faith. Worry intrudes, you substitute certainty. Illness is imagined, you substitute health. Loss appears, you substitute supply. The subconscious accepts whatever image you hold longest. If a dark picture flashes in you, need not fear as long as you replace it with light. Think of substitution like snapping your fingers and changing the slide in a projector. A fearful thought appears, you don't wrestle with it, you don't argue with it, you simply snap and put in a new slide. Florence taught, never force, never fight. Simply substitute. If you were about to say, "I can't afford it," stop and substitute "God is my instant, constant, and abundant supply." If you were about to say, "I'm afraid I'll fail," stop and substitute "I succeed in everything I do." A man once came to Florence terrified of sickness. He constantly imagined himself weak, pale, coughing. His subconscious loyal servant began to make his body follow the image. Florence interrupted him. "Stop rehearsing illness. The instant you see the picture, replace it. Say, 'I see myself strong, healthy, radiant.'" The man began practicing substitution. Every time the dark image arose, he instantly replaced it with health. Over weeks, his strength returned. His body responded to the new picture. This is the law of substitution in action. Let us try it together now. Close your eyes. Imagine for a moment that you fear losing money. See the image of your wallet empty your account low. Now snap your fingers. Substitute. See instead your wallet thick with bills, your account numbers rising, your table filled with good food. Feel the relief, the joy, the laughter. That is substitution. Simple, instant, effective. The subconscious cannot hold two opposing images at once. If you replace fear with faith, the subconscious will hold faith. If you replace worry with joy, the subconscious will hold joy. Florence compared this to light and darkness. Darkness has no power of its own. It is only the absence of light. When you switch on the light, darkness vanishes instantly. So it is with fear. Fear is only the absence of faith. Worry is only the absence of certainty. Substitution turns on the light. Let us run a mini rehearsal. Picture yourself about to give a presentation. Your mind whispers, "I'll mess up." Immediately substitute, see yourself speaking clearly, the audience nodding, applause ringing. Feel the confidence rise. This shift, repeated often, reprograms the subconscious. Soon, the old fear no longer appears. The new image is automatic. A young woman once dreaded job interviews. Her imagination ran wild with failure, stumbling on words, blanking out, being rejected. Each interview fulfilled her rehearsal. Florence gave her the law of substitution. Each time the picture of failure comes, she said, replace it with success. Imagine the smile of the interviewer, the handshake, the offer letter in your hand. The young woman practiced daily. Within weeks, she walked into an interview, calm, smiling, rehearsing success. She was hired on the spot. Catch it. Notice the negative thought or picture the moment it arises. Cancel it. Snap your fingers. Take a breath, say inwardly, "No, I choose differently." Replace it. Instantly substitute with the opposite image charged with feeling. This is not a long battle. It is a swift switch. Affirmations of substitution. Let us speak these together. Whenever fear arises, I substitute faith. Whenever lack appears, I substitute abundance. Whenever sickness whispers, I substitute radiant health. Feel the authority in those words. You are training your subconscious to obey new commands. Think again of the subconscious as a garden. Weeds may appear stray seeds of fear blown in by the winds of the world, but you do not despair. You simply pluck them and plant roses instead. Substitution is weeding the garden of the mind. Pull out the weeds the moment they sprout and plant the flowers of faith. Beloved, substitution is mercy. You need not live bound by old pictures, old fears, old rehearsals. At any moment, you can change the slide weed, the garden switch on the light. Say with me once more, I instantly substitute fear with faith, lack, with abundance, sickness, with health. My subconscious accepts only good, only life, only joy. And so it is. Florence Scovel. Shin gave this solemn reminder: keep out idle words, idle fears, and idle thoughts, for the subconscious has no sense of humor. It takes you at your word. If imagination is the stage of miracles, then it must be guarded, for not every visitor deserves entry. Your mind is holy ground. Your imagination is the gate through which destiny enters, and you are the guard. Picture your mind as a great castle. High walls rise around it. Inside are treasures: wealth, health, harmony, joy. At the gates stands a guard, your awareness. Every thought, every word, every image is a visitor approaching the gate. Some arrive dressed in light ideas of abundance, visions of love, affirmations of health. Others arrive in shadow, worries, doubts, fears, gossip. The guard must decide who enters, who is turned away. If the guard is asleep, anything enters. Fear sneaks in, doubt roams, freely lack, takes a seat at the banquet. But when the guard is awake, only chosen guests are allowed. This is the practice guarding the gates of imagination. Florence warned against idle words. She knew that words spoken carelessly slip past the guard. A man says, "I'm always broke," as a joke. But the subconscious does not laugh. It records the decree. A woman says, "I catch every flu that comes around." The subconscious obeys. Idle words are like giving the gate key to intruders. They enter unnoticed, yet rearrange the castle from within. A merchant once had a prosperous shop. At the door stood a guard to check each guest. One day the guard dozed off. Thieves entered pretending to be customers and robbed the store. So it is with the imagination. When your guard sleeps, when you speak idle words, when you let fears drift in unchecked, the thieves of joy, wealth, and health enter. But when you are vigilant, prosperity is safe. Let us try this practice now. Take a breath. Imagine yourself standing at the gate of your mind. A thought approaches, "I can't succeed." Stop it. Raise your hand like a guard and say, "You do not enter." Now another thought arrives, "I am abundantly supplied." You smile, open the gate, and say, "Welcome. You belong here." Practice this daily. The more you guard, the fewer thieves sneak in. Florence emphasized the power of morning and night. These are the unguarded times when the subconscious is most impressionable. The first words you speak upon waking set the pattern for the day. The last words before sleep sink into the night workshop of the subconscious. Therefore, guard these moments especially. No idle complaints upon waking, no worries upon lying down. Instead, decree abundance, health, and peace. Say each morning, "I reset my reality." Each night, I close the gates to fear. Money hears my first words. Florence told of a woman who struggled with constant setbacks. She prayed and affirmed, yet nothing changed. Then she realized her lips betrayed her. She would affirm abundance in the morning, but by noon, she'd say, "I never have enough." When she began guarding her speech, refusing idle words, her circumstances shifted. The gate was no longer open to thieves. Only words of faith entered. Speak these with me. My imagination is holy ground. I guard it with wisdom. Idle words and idle fears have no entry. Only images of abundance, health, and love are allowed within. Pause. Feel yourself as the guard of your inner castle. Guarding the gates does not mean fear of every thought. It means discernment. If a thought comes clothed in peace, admit it. If it comes clothed in anxiety, send it away. You are not a victim of thoughts. You are the doorkeeper. Thoughts knock, you choose. Florence said, "Resist not evil, but be wise enough not to admit it." This is guarding, not wrestling. Now I want you to mark your commitment. If you are ready to guard your imagination with vigilance, Comment 1 if you already practice guarding your thoughts. Comment 2 if you are beginning today. Make your choice visible. Step into the role of the guard. Beloved, we end this section with strength. You are not at the mercy of stray thoughts. You are not the victim of idle fears. You are the guard, the doorkeeper, the protector of your holy imagination. Say once more with me, I guard the gates of my imagination. Only good may enter. My subconscious serves only abundance, health, and joy. The gates are strong. The guard is awake. Your destiny is safe. Beloved soul, we now arrive at the place of practice. For knowledge is the seed, but practice is the water, the sunshine, the tending of the soil. Without daily practice, imagination remains a beautiful idea, but with it, imagination becomes the law in action. Florence Scovel Shinn taught with clarity what man images sooner or later externalizes, and she also declared with divine authority, what you fall asleep imagining you live tomorrow. Let us therefore begin by establishing a daily imagination discipline, a sacred rhythm that aligns morning and evening, day and night with the great law of mind. Each day begins with the word. Just as creation itself was called forth by the word, let there be light, so too does your life unfold by decree. The first words you speak upon waking hold a mighty power, for they set the vibration of your day. Florence herself encouraged us to begin not with worry, not with repetition of yesterday's troubles, but with a bold, living affirmation of truth. Imagine yourself rising with the dawn. Before you reach for your phone, before you rehearse the list of tasks awaiting you, pause. Place your hand upon your heart. Breathe slowly and declare, this is a new day of divine opportunities. I walk in victory. I am guided, guarded, and prospered. The doors of good open before me, and nothing can keep them shut. Today, I shall see miracles. Say it not mechanically, but with feeling. Let your words be as paintbrushes painting the canvas of the day. For truly, every morning is a blank canvas, and you are the artist. Now close your eyes and imagine the best possible day that could unfold. See yourself moving with ease, meeting kind people, receiving unexpected blessings, handling challenges with grace. Let the imagination rehearse success, not in a vague way, but vividly. See the smiles, hear the voices, feel the relief, the joy, the accomplishment. When you do this, you are not merely wishing. You are setting law in motion. You are tuning your inner instrument to a frequency of harmony, and by law of vibration, harmony must answer. If morning is the seed, evening is the harvest. It is at night that the subconscious is most open, most receptive, most impressionable. What you whisper to your subconscious as you drift to sleep is written deeply into the soil of mind and begins to grow by the law of faith. This is why Florence urged her students, never go to sleep with an image of failure, fear, or defeat. Always fall asleep imagining the highest good, and so shall it be. Let us then create a sacred bedtime ritual. When the body is tired, when the world has grown quiet, give your mind one last gift before surrendering to dreams. Lay upon your bed, release the weight of the day, and close your eyes. Now imagine not with strain, but with joy, that the thing you desire is already accomplished. See yourself in the home you long for, walking through its rooms, feeling the textures beneath your hands. Imagine yourself receiving the letter of good news, holding it in your hand, reading it with tears of joy. Envision yourself standing in health, strong, radiant, filled with vitality. Picture the relationship restored, the debt canceled, the opportunity seized. Do not force, Simply let the picture play like a gentle film. And as you do, breathe deeply and whisper, "It is done. I rest in victory. My good is secure, and tomorrow it rises into view." By this practice, you close the day in triumph and you instruct your subconscious to work through the night on your behalf. Your sleep becomes creative, your dreams prophetic, your rest an act of manifestation. Let me tell you a story in the style of Florence herself. There was once a woman who fell asleep each night rehearsing her fears. She imagined the creditors at her door, the unpaid bills piling higher, the arguments with her husband. Each morning, she woke heavier, for she had spent her nights sowing weeds. But one day, she read the words, "What you fall asleep imagining you live tomorrow." And something shifted. That very night, she decided to play a different film. Instead of poverty, she imagined herself writing a check in full payment, walking freely in abundance, feeling light as air. She fell asleep whispering, "I rest in plenty. My wealth is secure." Weeks passed and opportunities arose. Unexpectedly, an old investment matured, a friend offered help, and new work came her way. Soon, she lived in the very plenty she had imagined, for she had ceased rehearsing defeat and had rehearsed only victory. So too shall it be for you. For your subconscious is the silent stagehand of your destiny, arranging the sets, the props, the timing. You are the playwright, and the script you hand your subconscious at night becomes the performance you witness tomorrow. So I ask you now, will you claim your power? Will you begin tonight, not tomorrow, but tonight to practice this discipline of imagination? Will you honor yourself by closing the day with a victorious picture? For those who feel the call, I invite you now. Write in your heart this decree, "I sleep in victory." Yes, say it aloud. And if your spirit agrees, declare it publicly that others may be encouraged. If you will begin this very night, then comment, confess, or whisper into the universe, "I sleep in victory." For as Florence taught, words are wands. Whatever man voices, he calls into being. Let these words be the wand in your hand. Florence Scovel Shinn never treated affirmations as lifeless words. She did not believe that saying "I am rich" while trembling with fear and picturing lack would produce anything. She taught that affirmation must be alive. It must be an image in motion, clothed with feeling radiant with belief. She wrote, "Every word has power. It must be charged with faith and spoken into the substance of the universe. Words alone are only half the story. The other half is imagination, seeing the picture behind the words and feeling the truth of the picture as if it were already real. When you speak affirmations with imagination, they become not mere words, but pictures in motion, living energies that call your future into being." Imagine this. You say, "I am prosperous." But if in your inner eye you still see overdue bills, empty cupboards, and struggle, the words are contradicted by the picture. The subconscious always obeys the picture. But if when you declare "I am prosperous," you simultaneously see money flowing in, hear yourself laughing with relief, feel the texture of a check in your hand, and sense the joy of abundance, then your affirmation has become a living decree. You have united word, image, and emotion into a single force. This is the alchemy of manifestation, the word clothed in imagination, charged with feeling. Let us now enter into a practice. I invite you to speak aloud with me, slowly pausing after each line. As you speak, let your inner eye paint the picture. A firm divine supply flows to me in perfect ways. See golden rivers of abundance flowing toward you like sunlight pouring into your open hands. Unexpected channels of prosperity open now. Picture doors swinging wide, opportunities, arriving emails of good news filling your inbox. I am paid well for my talents, and I rejoice in perfect compensation. Imagine yourself at work, admired, rewarded, thanked, and holding the check of generous payment. Money comes to me in avalanches of abundance under grace and in perfect ways. See yourself standing in a gentle rainfall of bills, coins, and resources, all coming with ease, not struggle. Do you feel the difference? The words themselves are holy, but when joined with images, they become irresistible. Florence was adamant that love, too, must be imagined rightly. One must not picture loneliness, rejection, or strife, but instead hold the image of harmony, companionship, and joy. Say with me now, I am irresistible to my perfect partner. Divine love draws us together. See yourself radiant, glowing, magnetic. Picture another walking toward you with a smile that lights your heart. I am loved, cherished, and honored. I give love freely, and it returns multiplied. Feel the warmth of arms around you, the safety of belonging, the joy of mutual affection. Every relationship in my life is harmonious, blessed, and peaceful. See your family laughing at a table, friends embracing, colleagues working in harmony. When you speak these words and clothe them in radiant images, you call into being the very life you long for. Florence often helped those in sickness by directing their imagination away from symptoms and into vitality. For the subconscious does not know the difference between a real and an imagined state. It responds to the picture impressed upon it. Let us affirm together, I am strong, vibrant, and filled with divine energy. See yourself standing tall, your body glowing with light. Every cell in my body is renewed, restored, and radiant with health. Picture the cells dancing, sparkling, repairing, rejoicing in harmony. I breathe in life, I exhale strength. My body is a temple of the living spirit. Feel your lungs filling with golden light, your blood coursing with vitality, your mind clear and bright. Here lies the secret: repetition alone does not convince the subconscious. Emotion convinces. Imagination convinces. You must feel the truth of the picture as you speak the words. When you affirm wealth, do not say it flatly. Say it with joy, as if you have already received the good. Let your body smile, let your heart rise. When you affirm health, breathe deeply as if the breath itself is a proof of vitality. When you affirm love, soften your heart, feel the embrace. This marriage of word, image, and feeling is the true demonstration. There was once a man who affirmed day after day, I am successful. Yet he saw himself in failure. He spoke success, but imagined defeat. His life reflected the picture, not the words. But then he learned Florence's teaching. Imagination is the scissors of the mind, ever cutting day by day the pictures you will live tomorrow. So he began a new practice. When he affirmed, I am successful, he closed his eyes and saw himself walking into a new office, shaking hands with grateful clients, depositing checks into the bank. He felt the pride, the relief, the joy. Soon, opportunities appeared, clients arrived, and his business blossomed. Why? Because he had united the spoken word with the moving picture. Now, I invite you to try. Take one affirmation you already know, and instead of repeating it flatly, let it live. Speak it aloud. Then close your eyes and let the movie play. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? Do not rush. Spend a minute painting the picture. When the image feels real, then the affirmation has been planted. You have impressed the subconscious with a living seed. Beloved soul, Let this be your discipline. Never speak an affirmation without painting its picture. Never utter words without seeing and feeling their truth. For the universe answers not mere syllables, but the vibration of your entire being. Thus shall your affirmations become images in motion, and your images become demonstrations in form. Florence Scovel Shinn's power lay not only in teaching principle, but in showing demonstration. She filled her books with living testimonies, ordinary people who through imagination and affirmation shifted their entire experience. These case studies remain timeless because they prove that the law is no respecter of persons. What worked for one shall work for all. Let us now walk through stories of transformation so that you may see how imagination practiced consistently reshapes lives. There was once a woman burdened with failure. Every business attempt collapsed, every plan dissolved. She came to Florence in despair. "Nothing works for me," she said. "I cannot succeed." Florence replied firmly, "You cannot succeed while you are rehearsing failure. Your imagination is playing the wrong film. You must change the reel." So the woman was given an exercise each night before sleep. Instead of replaying her disappointments, she was to see herself walking into a room of applause, holding contracts, receiving congratulations. She was to declare, "I am successful. Everything I touch prospers." At first, she resisted. The old images of failure tried to intrude, but Florence instructed, "Persist. The new picture will take root." Weeks passed. Slowly, opportunities arose, a partnership formed, clients arrived. Within months, she experienced the very scene she had rehearsed, walking into a hall of applause as her new business thrived. This was no coincidence, it was law. She had ceased rehearsing defeat and began rehearsing victory. Another man came heavy with debt. He saw no escape, only chains of obligation. Florence asked, "What picture do you hold of yourself?" He confessed, "I see myself hounded by creditors, trapped suffocating." She said gently but firmly, "You must erase that picture, for whatever man imagines sooner or later externalizes. See yourself free and declare your freedom daily." So the man began. Each morning, he stood before the mirror, affirming, "I am free. I walk in plenty." Every obligation is cleared in divine order. And he saw himself walking with lightness, breathing with ease, shaking hands with creditors whose accounts were marked "paid in full." It felt strange at first, even foolish. Yet within months, unexpected income appeared, an inheritance, a sudden opportunity, even acts of kindness. Slowly, debt after debt dissolved. One day he returned to Florence radiant. "It worked," he said. "I am free." She replied, "It always works when the picture is right." Florence also tells of an actress desperate for work. She had been turned away at auditions again and again. Her imagination was filled with rejection. Florence instructed, "You must see yourself already chosen. Walk across the stage in your mind. Hear the applause. Feel the lights upon your face." The actress obeyed. Each night she rehearsed her triumph in imagination. She saw herself receiving the call, signing the contract, bowing before the crowd. She declared, "I am irresistibly magnetic to my perfect role. Divine selection is mine." Soon the call came. She was offered a part exactly the kind she had envisioned. When she first stepped onto the stage, she realized she was walking through the very scene she had played in her mind. Thus she learned, as we may learn, imagination is rehearsal. The subconscious takes the rehearsal for reality and arranges the outer scene to match. What do these stories reveal? 3 clear truths. The picture governs the outcome. Words alone are not enough if the inner image contradicts them. These souls had to change the picture they carried in imagination. Persistence shifts the subconscious. At first, the old images fought back. Doubt arose. Yet by daily practice, morning decree, evening visualization, the new picture took root. Demonstration follows imagination. Each case ended not in vague encouragement, but in tangible result applause, freedom, opportunity, abundance. Now pause and consider, what picture do you rehearse? When you think of your finances, do you see bills piling high, or do you see yourself receiving checks smiling in relief? When you picture your health, do you imagine sickness, or do you see yourself running, laughing, glowing? When you consider love, do you see loneliness, or do you see hands clasped, hearts united? For truly every day, you are writing your own case study. You are either rehearsing defeat or rehearsing victory, and the subconscious, obedient and neutral, will externalize whichever picture you hand it. So let us make a covenant here. Your testimony shall be the next one written. Your story shall be told of how imagination changed your life. Let it be said, once they struggled. Then they imagined differently, and now they live in victory. I invite you to imagine with me now. Picture a future day when you tell your story. You are seated before friends, perhaps before strangers, and you say, "There was a time I was trapped in fear. But then I heard the truth. Imagination shapes destiny. I began to practice. Each morning I declared, each night I visualized. I painted pictures of joy, success, freedom. At first, nothing seemed to change, but within something shifted, and soon, outwardly, everything changed. Doors opened, health returned, love appeared, wealth flowed, and now I live the very life I once imagined." Can you see yourself telling that story? Feel the pride, the relief, the gratitude? That is the story already being written. Beloved soul, let these testimonies anchor your faith. The law is certain, it cannot fail. As Florence declared, faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. So too shall you act, imagine, affirm, and demonstrate. Your life is the next case study of divine imagination at work. Florence Scovel Shinn declared with bold certainty, man must stop rehearsing lack and instead picture plenty. Wealth is not created by toil, but by imagination, clothed in faith. She knew that poverty is first an image in the mind, and abundance likewise is first an image in the mind. To live in lack is to replay films of shortage bills, unpaid cupboards, bare doors shut. To live in wealth is to rehearse a different film, tables full, pockets, heavy doors open and wide. The subconscious does not argue, it accepts the film you play most often. And so the key to prosperity is to feed your imagination with rich pictures until the outer world has no choice but to match them. Close your eyes now. See yourself standing in the midst of abundance. Not in tension, not in desperate clutching, but in joy. Imagine your bank account screen glowing with more digits than you require. Imagine the freedom of paying bills with ease, even with laughter. Picture yourself walking through a store, no longer calculating pennies, but freely selecting what delights you. Now let your senses join the picture. Hear the sound of crisp bills in your hand. Feel the weight of gold or silver. Smell the leather of a new wallet, fresh and full. Let joy flood through your body. This is not fantasy. This is rehearsal. And what you rehearse in imagination, you soon will enact in reality. Florence tells of a woman who longed for a new home, but had only a fraction of the money needed. Rather than picturing defeat, she bought a single piece of furniture in faith, a beautiful chair, and placed it in her small apartment as a symbol. Each night, she imagined herself sitting in that chair in her new home. Her friends laughed. "One chair does not make a house," they said. But she replied, "It is the picture of my abundance." Soon, unexpected supply arrived, doors opened, and she moved into a home perfectly suited for her. And there stood the chair, no longer out of place, but in harmony with the new reality. Such is the law imagination, when united with joy, magnetizes supply. Florence wrote, "Man must stop seeing himself as poor. Poverty is a false picture. Change the picture, and you change the demonstration. Therefore, your task is not to fight lack, but to replace the picture." Each time you are tempted to imagine shortage, deliberately switch the real. See yourself rich, provided for, surrounded by plenty. Whisper, "Wealth is my divine right. Abundance is mine now." Do this not once, but daily, morning and evening, and watch as life begins to reflect your inner pictures. Let us enter a practice together. Close your eyes. Imagine walking into a banquet hall prepared just for you. The tables are long, covered with linen piled high with fruit bread, wine, and delicacies. The air is filled with music and laughter. This is the banquet of life, and you are the honored guest. See yourself seated at the table, partaking without fear, without lack, without shame. Hear the music swell as you lift your glass in gratitude. Feel the richness of the moment, the gold light of chandeliers, the fragrance of abundance all around. Now affirm silently, "This is my life. Abundance is my natural state. I feast on plenty." Carry this image into your heart, and each time poverty whispers, return here to the banquet table. It is not enough to merely wish for wealth. One must erase the inner poverty film. Florence compared the mind to a motion picture reel. If you dislike the film, you must change the reel. So when you catch yourself saying, "I cannot afford this," stop. Replace it with, "I am lavishly provided for." When you see an empty wallet, close your eyes and imagine it filled. When you fear bills, picture yourself writing checks with ease and smiling as you post them. By this practice, you replace every image of lack with an image of plenty, and soon the outer world must comply. There was once a man who lived in constant worry over money. His imagination played only bills, debt shortages. Florence told him, "You must see overflow. Picture your pockets heavy, your hands full, your table laden." So he began. Each night, he visualized coins spilling over bills paid with surplus pockets too heavy to carry. He affirmed, "My supply is endless, inexhaustible, immediate." In time, new work arrived. Then investments multiplied. Soon, he was living in overflow, the very state he had rehearsed nightly. He said, "I no longer fear lack, for I carry abundance in my imagination." Beloved, wealth is not only future, it is now. Each time you imagine yourself rich, you live it in consciousness. And by the law, consciousness precedes demonstration. So rise in the morning with a wealthy picture. Walk through the day with a wealthy posture. Lie down at night with a wealthy dream. And soon you shall walk in wealthy reality. As Florence declared, man must make the picture of wealth and hold it without wavering. Then wealth will manifest with mathematical certainty. You may also create. Every image you hold, every word you speak, every picture you rehearse in faith is a brushstroke upon the canvas of your destiny. Florence called the word a wand, the imagination the scissors of the mind. With these tools, you cut, shape, and fashion the film of tomorrow. Therefore, live no longer as one at the mercy of chance. Live as the artist, the playwright, the divine imaginer. See yourself clothed in dignity, walking in mastery, radiating joy. Know that every scene you imagine is a seed planted in the soil of eternity. Let us enter a final vision together. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a wide open field. The sky above is radiant with golden light. The earth beneath your feet hums with strength. In your hand, you hold a wand, the wand of your word. Before you stretches the empty canvas of tomorrow. You lift the wand, and as you speak, pictures bloom across the field. You say, I am prosperous, and golden harvests rise from the earth. You say, I am loved, and companions gather around you with laughter. You say, I am healthy, and your body glows with radiant light. Every word is answered, every picture made flesh for you are a divine creator, and faith has already received. Now whisper with me, I live as a divine imaginer. My word is law, my vision is certain, my life is victory. Rest in this truth, feel it settle into your bones. This is who you are. When you rise tomorrow, remember you carry the crown of imagination upon your head. Do not cast it aside for fear, worry, or doubt. Instead, put it to use. Declare your day, envision your good, and act in confidence. When you meet challenges, remember they are but shadows, and shadows vanish in the light of imagination. Replace every fear picture with a faith picture, every doubt with a decree. And know that the law must respond. When you lie down at night, remember you are the playwright of tomorrow. Hand your subconscious a victorious script and let it arrange the stage. Whisper, I sleep in victory. My good rises at dawn. By this rhythm, morning decree, daily faith, evening vision, you will live as Florence lived consciously, joyfully, victoriously. Let me tell you a story, not of the past, but of the future, perhaps even your future. A student once began with trembling faith. They doubted, feared, and rehearsed defeat. But little by little, they practiced. They affirmed with pictures. They imagined before sleep. They rehearsed wealth instead of poverty, health instead of sickness, love instead of loneliness. At first, small changes came. A check in the mail, a kind word, a new opportunity. Then greater changes. Debts cleared, relationships healed, vitality restored. One day they awoke and realized they were no longer the same person. They had stepped into mastery. Now they live as a conscious creator, teaching others, telling their story I once feared. But now I imagine only victory. And so I live only victory. Could this not be your story? Indeed, it already is, for you have begun the practice. Let us close with Florence's own rhythm transfigured for you. Now I walk in victory. I see only good. My word is a wand of power, my imagination, a fountain of creation. Faith knows it has already received. Therefore, I live now as divine creator, clothed in joy, crowned in abundance, radiant in love. My life is the perfect demonstration of divine imagination fulfilled. So it is. So it shall be. So it already is. When this script ends, your practice begins. Do not wait. Tonight, choose your picture. Speak your decree. Tomorrow, rise with words of victory. And each day after, continue. If this message has stirred your soul, share it with another that they too may awaken to their creative power. And if your heart is ready to claim this truth, comment, whisper, or decree aloud, I live as divine creator. This is your identity. This is your destiny. This is your victory.